Pindai Dube, Harare, Zimbabwe.
To this conversation now, the African Agri Investment Indaba aims to tackle food insecurity and achieve zero hunger by 2030. Over 800 stakeholders, including government officials and agribusinesses leaders from more than 50 countries, are expected to attend. Now it takes place between the 18th and 20th of November in Cape Town. For more on this, CEO of the African Agri Council, Leyka, joins us now. Sir, good morning. Thank you so much for your time here on the weekend edition of the South African Morning. I'm looking at the statistics as we are speaking, sir, and considering the fact that South Africa is regarded a food secure nation on a national level, I'm wondering why it is that we're still seeing food insecurity persisting on a household level, because what we're seeing here is that some people are still going to bed hungry or eating only once or twice a day. In a food secure nation, why is that, do you think?
Absolutely. Good morning, and thank you very much for having me. It is a shocking reality when we look at where we are currently, whether it's in South Africa or across the African continent. The UN development goals were put in place for a specific reason with specific targets. And we do believe by 2030, we should be able to achieve a food secure continent. And irrespective of where South Africa is in terms of its food production, food affordability remains a big challenge. Because in terms of food production, we're still seeing much needed inputs. We still need we still need investment into agriculture to be able to see a lot more production across South Africa, a lot more production across the African continent that will in fact ensure that people are able to feed themselves and people are able to produce, people are able to look at agriculture from a business perspective, but also as a conduit that will help Africa evolve and grow as a continent in itself.
Let's talk about the economy, accessibility, and just how expensive food is. You just touched on it now, because research further shows that 58.1% of households survive on nutrition-poor food groups. Your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. And these are research that are backed with by international institutions as well as South African institutions. We're seeing the impact of climate change affect food affordability and accessibility. We're seeing the impact of conflict across the world affect food accessibility as well as affordability. So unfortunately for the African continent and South Africa as well, we still reliant, our food systems are not resilient as we actually thought. We're not sustainable as we actually thought, because external shocks are still able to impact our affordability on the African continent, irrespective of the status that South Africa has reached in terms of a food secure country on the African continent. So these external shocks still have an impact on the average individual, still have an impact on the average entrepreneur who is unable to grow his business, who is unable to access finance or funding because of what is happening externally. So it is up to the African continent, and that's the mission that the AAC has given itself, that we can achieve a food secure continent by joining forces with African stakeholders and international stakeholders. And that's why the African Agri Investment Indaba becomes this central and pivotal platform that will bring all these different stakeholders so that we can discuss the impact of investment and how that can transform our food system on the African continent.
In conclusion, let's talk about some of the talks that you will be having at the Indaba, also specifically as it pertains to becoming more resilient. You were alluding to the impact that climate change is having, for instance.
Oh, yes. The African Agri Investment Indaba has been put together to bring investment opportunities to the forefront of agriculture. For many years, agriculture was seen as a subsistence industry, and very few people could actually see agriculture as a business. By putting agriculture and food at the center of investment and finance discussions. You remove that system, the subsistence component to the topic, and you start looking at agriculture as a business. And the focus for us at the African Agri Investment Indaba is to bring all the different capital providers, whether it's development financial institutions, your private equity, your venture capitalists, your commercial bank and lenders, together with agribusinesses, policymakers, international as well as local, so we can start looking at what is needed on the African continent. One, from a knowledge sharing perspective, but also from a business perspective. Where are the opportunities? Where are the policies that are now being drafted and implemented that encourage private sector investment? The way we've structured the African Agri Investment Indaba is on two fronts. On one end, you have the knowledge sharing, high-level knowledge sharing insight that will touch on the impact of climate change, that will touch on different funding solutions and instruments that have been put together to mitigate the impact of climate change. And on the other end, you have the business components, you have the discussion, the high-level networking and business interactions that are taking place. And we do believe that by combining those two, we have a real opportunity to actually achieve our target by 2030.
Absolutely, and that is the ultimate goal. Thank you so much for your time and unpacking it for us here on
Thank you very much.
That was CEO of the African Agri Council, Ben Leyka, talking to us about the African Agri Investment Indaba taking place from the 18th and until the 20th of November in Cape Town. The SA Morning continues at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
If you're lying, spinning the truth, or just being plain unreasonable, I'm here to call you out. If Similane admits she did get that money, there's no doubt she must